The best little hen that ever laid an egg, and she laid more eggs than that hen on the farm. And another little drink wouldn't do us any harm. Another little drink, another little drink, another little drink wouldn't do us any harm. Another little drink, another little drink, another little drink wouldn't do us any harm. We had a little duck and a lot of green peas, and bought a pitcher of beer and some silk and tea, and we felt such a pain in the shade of a palm. Another little drink wouldn't do us any harm. Another little drink, another little drink, another little drink wouldn't do us any harm. Another little drink, another little drink, another little drink wouldn't do us any harm. There was a little girl who was into review. Couldn't act a bit for the lady through and through, but to all the boys she wanted to do a lot of good for. Another little drink wouldn't do us any harm. Another little drink, another little drink, another little drink wouldn't do us any harm. Another little drink, another little drink, another little drink wouldn't do us any harm.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Toomooba's International. Welcome to the Centenary.
Thanks, Jeffrey. Welcome everybody. What a privilege it is for me to be the chairman in this year. It's just a bit of good luck that happens to be me after 100 years. But the Toowoomba Rugby League is not about me. It's not about just the people who are running it this year or the people playing. It's pretty much a living thing. The Toowoomba Rugby League has been going for 100 years. It survived lots of things. It survived World War II, the entry of Gatton, all sorts of things. Sorry, Schmitty. But it is, as I said, a privilege to be here and to be the person that gets to welcome you all here. And
North Queensland. And while I was there, I got a letter from a bloke in Toowoomba with the name of Ken McCaffrey, who had played with the year before with Eastern Suburbs. And Ken, in his letter to me, said, "Bob, you better come down here to Toowoomba." He said, "We've got the best coach in the world down here." And I said, "Yeah, you know, I was big time myself. I was only 18 or something, you know. But now I thought towards the end of the year I realised that I wasn't a coach's, you know what, and
I think that famous coach was Duncan Thompson, am I right?
Yes. Anyhow, I thought to myself, I think I'll go down to Toowoomba just to see this bloke, Duncan Thompson his name was, and anyhow I arrived down here. It's the best thing I ever did was come down here because I ended up signing up with in Toowoomba, and Duncan Thompson, he was a wonderful coach. You know, he'd get us out in the middle of the grandstand sometimes, the whole team. No training, just everyone just sat here and listened to Duncan, and he'd tell us what we should be doing, you know.
That's my sort of coach, that there's no training, we just get to sit around and be happy with that. So you come down in 1952, in the same year you got the honour of representing Queensland.
I've forgotten most of them. I don't know. It said to me when I was a young fella, you know, Bob, as you get older you lose your memory, you know. And I said, oh yeah. And fair dinkum, she was right. I've really lost my memory.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. 89, travelled from Newcastle, one of Toomooba's greatest, our 5 over the century, Bobby Banks. And we have two coaches. Our first coach from the 1910s and 1920s, his name's been mentioned plenty of times tonight, none other than the famous Duncan Thompson, represented by his grandson, Duncan Stewart, as Duncan comes forward. He played for Valley's Roosters here in Toowoomba, as well as the Newtown Lions. He was a halfback. Queensland representative 17 times, New South Wales 3 and Australia 10 times, captaining Queensland as well as a Queensland coach, voted in the top 100 footballers of the 20th century. He was the main man behind the dominance of the 1924 and 25 sides as the captain. He was shot in World War I and told he would never play football again by the doctors. He came back and represented Australia the very next year. He has two grandstands named after him, one in Toowoomba, one in North Sydney. He's the only person in Australia to have that honour. He also represented Queensland in cricket, in country cricket. He also represented Toowoomba in bowls. He had a handicap of 3 in golf, and he represented Queensland in tennis. He was also an Australian selector, and he won 6 straight Bulimba Cups in the 1950s. How famous is that? Our coach, Duncan Thompson.
Such is this side, full of the calibre it is, that we had to have 2 coaches in the team of the century. Ladies and gentlemen, the second coach in the Toowoomba Rugby League team of the century is Wayne Bennett. Wayne's represented the senior by his brother Bob. Born in Allera, played in the 60s and 70s, played at the Brothers Club, position of wing, played for Queensland 7 times and played tour matches for Australia. Of course, he was the coach of Queensland, Australia and in fact England. Played 1 game for Australia on a New Zealand tour. Often regarded as the best coach in the modern game. Keen admirer of Duncan Thompson and his contract at football, and he's currently sitting 2nd on the NRL table with the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Can you please give Bob Bennett a round of applause on behalf of Wayne.
As we grab a couple of snaps, we're going to go to a break for about 5 minutes. So if you want to use the facilities, grab a cold drink, and then we'll be back with a very, very good call of the team of the century. Won't you hear this when we return from our break very shortly?
Signals the last. McGrady kicks downfield, taken on the full by Drake, who brings the ball back. He beats 1, he beats 2. Twinkle Toes is really on his game today, and he's finally brought down by a grassing tackle by Sullivan on the halfway. Dempsey into dummy half. A short ball onto Steinort on the rampage, and it takes 3 to bring the big man down. He gets a quick play the ball. Dempsey again onto the man Mountain Madston, who gains another 10 metres before Beaver.
The TRL icons. Above and beyond a Hall of Famer, ladies and gentlemen. So these are what you class as the pinnacle of the evening, if you like, and there's 4 of them. Thank you very much for your attention here this evening too. I have to say, Paul, the attention of the audience has been tremendous, so we really do appreciate that.
That's very good. So we've got 4 awards to go, and they're our icons, as Jeff said, and our first one that we'd like to honour here tonight has been mentioned many, many times tonight. He's associated with Toowoomba through everything, not just as a player, but what he did for the game off the field, as well as coaching and selecting. Ladies and gentlemen, the first up is Duncan Thompson. So we invite Duncan Stewart, his grandson, to come forward to accept the honour on behalf. Many people will be sitting in the Duncan Thompson grandstand tomorrow to watch the Madsen Rasmussen final. He was an entrepreneur in Toowoomba. You'll remember the Duncan Thompson sports stores. He had plenty of clothing, balls, everything named after him. He also was an entrepreneur. He started the first tennis match under lights ever. Olympic Cup record, 6 straight, halfback from the Newtown Lions and the Valley's Roosters. Ladies and gentlemen, our first icon is Duncan Thompson.
It's an interesting jersey there too. It's actually Philip this evening who's representing Duncan, a slight change in order, which is great. Interesting jersey. I'm sure that Philip will explain a little bit more about that when he comes over to have a quick chat. As he comes over, look at him coming over.
Come on, Paul, he can't vote until then.
He's not a resident of the region, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, he doesn't vote in Toowoomba.
Not a resident of the region. Okay, so how about we explain, Philip, the jersey? Now that Pat's just put it away, do you want to take it out of it?
First of all, can I just say, Duncan Thompson was the patron of the Queensland Rugby League in 1955 when I was born. And because he promoted rugby league, he would always say, "Oh, it's a good gate, a good crowd." And that was something that he wanted to make money for the QRL. So he loved this jersey. As we speak, the Maroons are training in this jersey in Perth. It's called the Captain's Run, which I didn't know about. The Captain's Run is David Cherry Evans has the final run with the team before the game. So the captain calls the shots. The coach is off the field. And they play in this jersey. It's the first jersey this year. There are 300 of these for sale, and this is one I bought. At number 7, Par's number, hardback, and so I bought that one. And so if you want to buy one of those, they're for sale from the QRL. I'm not advertising it because I love it. But anyway, they're training in that, and then tomorrow night they'll play in their own jersey.
Brilliant.
That's what it's all about.
Philip, your memories of Pa, you said good gate, those sorts of things. Do you have other strong memories? I mean, was he a storyteller as well?
He was a great man. I recall going to the first of all, into Toowoomba growing up. 3 of us, my brother Duncan, my sister Julie are here, and family, and we grew up, and he always went and loved teaching the young people, the high schoolers. He would go in a suit with a bow tie, and that was respect. He had respect, and he said respect me, and that was respecting for them. And so he always trained with people in a suit. He also had a great love of the game, and he invented, as some may know here, the term contract football. In early days, he coined it in 1950s. Contract football is keeping it simple. Yes, he valued. It was always the value of a yard, and he would score a try in 1/8 of a second. He had the idea that a man in football boots could run 100 metres in 12 seconds. You divide that by 100 in 8 metres. He could run in 1 second. All right, and then he could, in 1/8 of a second, it would be 1 metre. So you would score a try in 1 metre. And he calculated that in a scientific way. No one else has done that. And that still today is how you score a try. And they worked that out, and the science of football was why he's called the father of coaching.
Well, he's admired and looked up by so many other people, coaches. You know, Wayne Bennett often talks about him. You know, it's remarkable. Now, not only rugby league, but he was a superstar in all sports: cricket, bowls, golf, tennis.
Exactly. Just with Wayne Bennett, his son Ian went to South when Wayne was coaching South, and told Wayne about contract football. And Wayne took that on board, and he has since spoken about contract football. But yes, in Toowoomba here, I can't remember all the details, but yes, as you said, he played all those sports. I've got them.
Tennis, bowls, golf, cricket.
Yes, I've got which one he played for the state. Something. Cricket.
There we go.
And then tennis.
Handicap of 3 off golf and golf.
Yes, he's got this funny story. He told me one day there was a charity at the golf course, and it had, you could only choose one club. So he chose a 4-wood, and you can only play the whole round with a 4-wood, with one club. He chose a 4-wood and won the competition. I think even part of the course on a 4-wood.
Wow. Remarkable. But he is, what a great man, great memories. Thank you for coming along, you and your family as well, Philip. We really do appreciate it.
There we go, our first icon, Duncan Thompson. Our second one, none other than the man himself, Tom Gorman. Put your hands together for Tommy Gorman. We don't have a representative, sadly. John had to pull out late. He was inducted in the Sports Hall form for Australia. He's the only Toowoomba Rugby League player, as well as also inducted into the Toowoomba Sports Hall of Fame as one of our inaugural inductees. Ladies and gentlemen, our second icon is Tom Gorman. Our third icon is none other than Duncan Hall. He's represented tonight by Duncan Hall Jr., his son, as Duncan comes forward. Played in the 40s and 50s. He was with the Newtown Bluebays, the Lions here in Toowoomba. Queensland, 24 times icon. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for John Cracker McDonald. One of our favourite sons of Toowoomba. Played for Valleys here in Toowoomba before heading down to Manly, where he captained him. Queensland representative 9 times, New South Wales 4, Australia 13, was the vice-captain of the Australian side, but it was his contribution after he finished playing where he coached our first State of Origin side in 1980, and what a marvellous concept Origin is now. It's the lifeblood of rugby league.
Now, Cracker, these nights obviously would bring back a lot of memories. To see Jackie Gleeson up here on stage with you, and you toured with him, played alongside him in Queensland and Australia. Do those memories start to come back to you, and what that was all about, playing at that time?
Well, it's a funny thing you say that because they never leave you. They stay with you forever, those special moments, and certainly I was privileged to have a few of those with some great players and great coaches over a period of time. You
did have some terrific coaches, and just looking through those, of course, you had the great Herb Steinort, was one of your first coaches. East State School and to the Valleys Roosters along that Lindsay Street slope, as Haddon refers to it as. What was Herb like as a coach?
Well, I think, Jeffrey, that we're privileged here in Toowoomba to have such great people behind us, and Herb was one of those people that didn't stand for a lot of nonsense. He was very much about winning games, and to be in his team you had to do everything to his satisfaction or else you weren't in the team.
So, Cracker, you obviously had the tutelage of not only Herb, but then in representative teams, you had the man who's also been inducted as an icon in Duncan Thompson as a coach at representative level. And it sounds like he was a scientist of the game, Duncan Thompson. Did he impart that sort of knowledge onto you, folk, contract football?
Well, he did do that because he realised that the game wasn't just won on the field, it was about the preparation that was so very important, and the right attitude of people when they went on the field to play well. We were very privileged to have him here in Toowoomba to be part of the game, and not only him but the people that he also tutored in later years, and we've got some in the room here tonight who had the privilege of being under his guidance.
There we go, congratulations, that's our 4 icons: Duncan Thompson, Tom Gorman, Duncan Hall and John Cracker McDonald. 4 fantastic icons to start it off for us in the Toowoomba Rugby League as they get their pictures together with Pat and Paul.
And the fireworks. Brilliant. Just on cue.
Right on time, Wayne Hamlet. Well done. Impact lighting. Good job.
He's done well.
Duncan, could you tell us a little about the Rugby League achievements, or the most notable achievements of the Toowoomba Rugby League in the early years?
The early years will go back, of course, to the 1920s, Bob. They are noted for our undefeated record when we had the distinction of playing for 2 years against all places in which Rugby League was playing at that time. We played England in 1924, which is the most notorious, and the scores were 23-20 in Toowoomba's favour. New Zealand came across also in that period, and Toowoomba won by 16-14. The New South Wales team came, and the scores there were 16-0, which was something of which naturally Toowoomba was very proud to beat us, New South Wales like that. I'm glad my friend Ray Norman isn't here to hear me say that. Victoria we defeated by 48 points to 18, and then at the end of the 1925 season, after we had played the Blimber Cup series on 2 years, for 2 years, and having defeated Ipswich and Brisbane in all 4 matches, we were then acclaimed, of course, as the champion team of Queensland, and South Sydney having won the premiership, the local league invited them here for the championship of Australia. And with them, I asked Tom McMahon to come, and we were successful by winning by 12 points to 5. That, I feel, is the furthest back I can go in the early days.
Duncan, of what did the team consist in 1924 that defeated England?
The actual players?
Yes. Whom did it consist?
Yes. Well, the fullback, from the fullback, I would say Mark Ryan, Jack Lindsay and Spencer on the wings, Tom Gorman, who was the only Queenslander to ever captain Australia on the English tour, and Jack Kineen. Strangely enough, a lot of people get confused because they think Nigger Brown played, who had played in all our matches until then, but he had been hurt. Then my brother Colin and myself as halfbacks. Those were the backs. In the forwards, we had Dan Dempsey and Herb Steinort, Henry Libke, and Cecil Broadfoot, Jim Bennett, and Vic Armbuster. Those were the backs, forwards rather.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Oh,
All right.